The fall of Rome, the last breath of the city of gods. History's greatest empire. Fell without a final battle. No enemy could destroy it. Until it began to rot from within. Rome was never just a city. It was an idea. A faith. A myth. For centuries it stood at the center of the known world. Its streets paved with marble, its temples bathed in gold. When its legions marched, the earth trembled. And everyone believed Rome would last forever. But nothing lasts forever. Not gods, not kings, not empires. Rome was no exception. 1. The birth of a legend. Romans believed they were the children of gods. To be Roman meant order, discipline, and power. All roads led to Rome, because Rome led to everywhere. From the misty shores of Britain to the burning sands of Egypt. Her shadow stretched endlessly. At first, that shadow protected the world. But shadows grow darker the longer they linger. Rome's greatness became its curse. For an empire in love with its own reflection is doomed to drown in it. 2. The price of victory. The higher a civilization climbs, the heavier its burden becomes. Rome no longer expanded through courage, but through debt. Its fields lay barren, its people hungry. The proud Roman soldier became a paid mercenary. Farmers abandoned their land, cities sank into poverty. Bread was expensive. Hope was cheap. As the gold of the treasury melted away, new taxes filled the void, crushing the very people who built the empire. The bond between Rome and her citizens snapped. The mighty heart of the empire was hollow. 3. The enemy within. Empires rarely die by foreign swords. They die by their own hands. The Roman elite no longer served the state. They owned it. The throne became a prize, not a duty. In just 50 years, over 20 emperors rose and fell. Most killed by their own guards. Rome was no longer a nation. It was an arena. Where power was the only god left. And while Rome devoured itself, the so-called barbarians still waited beyond its borders. But the real enemy was already inside the Senate's marble halls. 4. The pact with the barbarians. At last, Rome could no longer trust even its own legions. No one wanted to fight for an empire that no longer believed in itself. And so, Rome made its fatal mistake. It hired its enemies. Visigoths, Vandals, Germanic tribes. They entered as allies. Granted land, food, and gold in exchange for loyalty. But how loyal can a man be to the master who once enslaved him? Rome called them barbarians. But these tribes were watching, waiting, and learning. Among them rose a leader, Alaric. Not a savage, but a strategist. And he saw what Rome had become. A frightened giant, standing on trembling legs. 5. The city of gods falls. The year, 410 AD. The unimaginable happened. Rome's gates opened, not broken by force, but unlocked from within. For 3 days, the eternal city burned. Temples looted. Noble houses destroyed. And in the ashes, the world's loudest silence echoed. The mistress of the world was on her knees. But this was not the end. Half a century later, the Vandals arrived. This time, not as looters, but as conquerors. They stripped the city bare, loading Rome's treasures, statues, and sacred relics onto ships. Rome had been robbed, burned, humiliated. Yet somehow, it still stood. Until 476. 6. The last emperor. In 476 AD, a man named Odoacer, a Germanic commander, marched into Rome. The boy emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was quietly deposed. No great war. No final defense. Just silence. As if Rome herself accepted her fate. The Western Roman Empire was gone. 1,000-year reign ended not with a scream, but a whisper. But history never truly ends. Rome had fallen, yet its shadow remained. 7. From ashes, they rose. While the West crumbled, the East survived. The Byzantine Empire. Constantinople carried Rome's torch for another millennium. But in the West, chaos reigned. No emperors, only kings. No empire, only fragments. Feudalism was born. And yet, Rome refused to die. Its roads, its laws, its language, even its way of thinking all endured. In quiet monasteries, monks copied Roman manuscripts by candlelight. Churches were built from Rome's stones. And Christianity, once persecuted by Rome, now ruled in her place. The Pope became more powerful than any emperor. The city of gods had fallen. But the kingdom of God had risen. 8. The scourge of God. And in the chaos that followed, a new terror emerged. A name whispered in every corner of Europe. Attila. He was neither Roman nor Germanic. He was a Hun. And the Romans called him the scourge of God. Attila came not to conquer, but to erase. Cities vanished in his path. Fields burned. Rivers ran red. Even mighty Rome trembled. In desperation, the Pope himself rode out to meet him. No one knows what was said between them. But Attila turned back, leaving Rome untouched. Perhaps he was ill. Perhaps he feared God. Or perhaps he saw no reason to destroy what was already dead. 9. The end of an era. Sometimes, an age does not end with war, but with exhaustion. Rome's end was not dramatic. It was quiet. No last stand. No heroic sacrifice. Just a fading belief in itself. Yet from that decay came rebirth. The Roman spirit lived on. In law, in architecture, in the very languages we speak. Every empire falls. But some shape the world even in their ruin. Rome was such an empire. It died, yet it never truly disappeared. Because Rome was more than a city. It was humanity's belief in its own greatness. 10. The last word. When we gaze upon the ruins of Rome, we see more than broken stones. We see a warning carved into history. No power can survive its own corruption. Every empire dies from within. Rome fell because it ceased to be Rome. And maybe that is why. Through every century, in every nation, we repeat its fate. Because history does not only tell us what happened, it whispers what will happen again. And now, history speaks once more.